Hey everyone, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Let's give a couple more minutes for any late attendees to join this. Meanwhile, I can use this time to let you know how this is organized today. This session will be recorded, and we will be sharing the recording together with any supplemental materials after this demo via email. We will mask any personal details, so you don't have to worry about your privacy. Your cameras and microphones will be muted for the duration of this webinar. However, don't hesitate if you have any questions regarding the materials that we are covering, please use the Q&A section in your Teams. This is located right next to the chat icon. I will still see everything that you submit in the chat. However, I do encourage you to use Q&A instead for asking questions. It just offers an overall better experience and allows you to upvote questions from others. And it's easier for me to go through. And we will have a designated time at the end of the session to go through any questions that have been submitted. And like always, my contact details are shared in the bio linked to this webinar. And I will be also sharing my contact details at the end of the session so that you can get in touch. You can ask me any questions that might pop up after this. So I do encourage you to connect with me after the session. With that, I think we are ready to start. I will start by sharing my screen. Hey, and welcome again to our webinar. And the subject of today's talk is how to handle CCPA right to delete requests with confidence. This is presented by Jetico, and I will be your host today. My name is Alexei. I've been with Jetico for over 10 years now. Actually, just a few days ago, I've celebrated my 11th anniversary with Jetico. I am currently in the position of Chief Operating Officer. However, I have a very strong background in technology. So I've joined Jetico 11 years ago as a junior engineer in test. So I've spent quite a few years digging into this software, including also BCWipe, the tool that we'll be talking about today. So I have a very good understanding of how this tool operates on the user level, but also backstage, let's say. And very recently, I've also led the development of the search module that supercharged BCWipe erasure tool with the ability to instantaneously locate sensitive data across the enterprise network. And I've worked with some key accounts, some key customers on this to collect the database of requests, what the customers are really looking for. So I'm very proud of this milestone in also my career to be able to deliver this product that we'll be talking about today. Let me quickly walk you through the agenda for today. So I will start by introducing you to the company. I've introduced myself. Now I'll spend a moment to talk about Jetico. We will then focus on the core subject of today, which is the right to delete under the CCPA regulation and some challenges associated with that. We will also then talk about the 3 steps you might need to take to achieve compliance. And closer to the end of this session, I will also present a live demo of BCWipe together with the data discovery module and showcase how BCWipe can address those challenges and how BCWipe can help you cover those 3 steps to achieve compliance. And then after a short break, I will be ready to take any of your questions. We'll have a small chat about anything that's on your mind, and we'll then be ready to conclude today's webinar. Again, I'm outlining that this webinar is being recorded and we'll be sharing the materials as a follow-up. So if you need to leave earlier, no worries about that. We'll make sure that you have access to the recording of today's demo. All right, moving on then to introduction of the company. So I'm representing Jetico today. Jetico has been around for almost 30 years now. Actually, in the end of this month, we will be celebrating our 30th anniversary. Throughout this 30 years, we've served customers around the world. More than 100 countries is on our list, more than 1 million customers. And we have truly deserved trust from the top security organizations around the world. Some names, just to drop a few, include the White House, the Department of Defense, the Air Force in the United States, but also government and defense contractors around the globe. So the highest security organizations has been working with BCWipe and our encryption tools for 4 decades now. This is a quick overview of our portfolio. Although we are mainly known for our erasure tools these days, actually we've started by creating encryption tools and not even encryption apps back in the day. Before the commercial OSs started to appear, we were developing encryption hardware modules that could be attached to the motherboard and deliver first encryption for the DOS environments. This will also become important during our session today because due to the fact that we have an expertise in the in-house developing of encryption tools, we know firsthand what it takes and what it means to develop secure systems. So even though our focus now has been shifted towards offering solutions on the wiping spectrum, still developing enterprise-grade solution and solutions that serve top security organizations like governments require the highest level of security, which we can provide by introducing also our in-house encryption protocols and our knowledge that we've developed over the years, how to build secure system into our wiping products these days. Okay, but having said this, we can now move to the main subject of today's webinar, which is CCPA's right to delete. So just to give you a formal quote of what this is about, under the California Civil Code, a consumer shall have the right to request that a business deletes any personal information about the consumer which the business has collected from the consumer. So me being a Californian resident, I could write a formal letter or just an email to a business that has been offering me some services, and I could request they erase all information that is associated with our interaction. But how actually this should be done? There further clarification is available regarding this requests to delete in the California Privacy Protection Agency regulations. For businesses, they highlight that a business shall comply with the consumer's request to delete their personal information by permanently and completely erasing the personal information from its existing system. This will become very important moving on with the subject of today's webinar. There's two words to focus on: permanently and completely. So permanently can be interpreted in a way that it cannot be reversed, right? And completely meaning that no traces of this data should remain in any of the systems. But how can we actually ensure this permanency and this complete erasure of said data? We will look also in the, before we move on, let's also check the the rules that apply not only to businesses but also to service providers and contractors. Well, similar rules like it applies to businesses will apply to contractors and service providers. So with respect to personal information that they collected, the businesses, upon notification, should cooperate with the business in responding to a request to delete by doing one of the following, or all of the following, actually. Permanently and completely erasing the personal information from this existing system. Again, there's two key words about the permanence and the complete erasure of the information. But then to reiterate my question, how, as a business or as a service provider, how can we be sure that the information is erased permanently and completely? One might think, okay, it's a request to delete. Should I just delete this data? Actually, by simply deleting this question, by simply deleting this data, by simply clicking on the data and selecting move to trash, or even by emptying the trash bin, you are risking to fail to comply with the California privacy protection regulations. How so? Well, deletion is actually not enough. First of all, the standard deletion only removes file references, not the actual data, right? So in that sense, standard deletion is reversible. So a deletion that is handled by standard Windows command cannot be deemed complete. It cannot be deemed permanent because by using any recovery tool, you can actually restore the contents of the information. And there's quite a big gap before the contents of the file bodies that were removed from the file system archives, and then they were released to the free space. There's quite a long time gap before those files get eventually overwritten with something else. So during this file gap, this information is susceptible to recovery, to software recovery, which means that such deletion, a deletion by a standard Windows command, cannot be deemed permanent. Neither can it be deemed complete because such deletion will only target the file name and the file body, leaving the entire world of what's called data remnants. So some references to this file in the system, some copies or some temp files that potentially contain parts of the information that can be in the hidden system folders, and also not to forget about the traces of the data that might potentially be part of the free space. So some bits of the information that maybe has been removed from the operating system prior, but has still not been overwritten by any new data and hence can be recovered. All right, so we have now a good understanding of what CCPA requires from us, right? There's as a business or as a service provider, we need to be able to, upon request, make sure that the personal information of a Californian individual is erased completely and permanently, right? What are some challenges? And we have now a basic understanding that this cannot be achieved with just a standard Windows deletion tool. But what are some additional challenges that come to in play when we are trying to answer a right to delete request under CCPA? So one of the challenges is to locate where personal data is. Unless you are having a detailed inventory of where and how the personal information is stored, you are probably not ready to answer the request in a timely manner. before you can actually get rid of the information, you need to understand and you need to identify all the locations that this information has been stored in. And intuitively, it's clear that you should look for places where you saved this data to. But operating system and data systems in general, they do a lot behind the curtain, right? They do a lot unseen to us. All the third-party apps that we are using to work with the customer data, they constantly create this third-party files, temp files, that might be deleted or might remain in the system. So they might be hidden somewhere in the vendors' personalized folders, or they can be released by deleting those files. They can be released to the free space. So locating the data path becomes an actual challenge here. Another challenge is to also remove hidden traces. I've already outlined the importance to not only target the file body, but to also target the broader scope of information associated with the core file, right? This could be files that have a modified or stripped down version of the original file. The examples could be temporary files. This could be mentions of the file in the file system transaction log file. This can be records about the files in the master file table of the file system, and so on, depending on the level of sensitivity of this information. Sometimes even the smallest bit is enough to recover very sensitive information. Like if we are talking about a social security number, right? Something that is decoded with something that is encoded with just a few digits. One disk sector would be enough to be recoverable to get access to this information completely. So it's very important to also keep in mind the hidden traces and to be able to erase them. And one of the final challenges here is to be able to prove compliance, right? You don't only need to execute and act upon the request to delete in a timely manner. You also need to provide sort of proof to the requester to showcase that you have handled their request properly and that indeed no information is then left on the endpoints, on any of the endpoints in your organization in association with this request. Not only you need to provide this type of proof to the requester itself, but if you're under a certain level of compliance, then a third-party actor assessing your compliance levels might need to ask you to prove that you have specific means to be able to do so should the request come, or acting upon an investigation of a past request, they can ask you to provide proof of addressing such a request in a timely and in a secure manner. So looking at these challenges, the three main challenges being to locate personal data, to then remove any hidden traces that are not necessarily seen to a human user of the endpoint from the first glance, and then to be able to prove compliance. What are some steps that we can take to address those challenges? Well, these three easy steps to compliance can be as follows. The first step would be to search and identify where the information and what information was collected and where is it stored. So to use a qualified tool to locate any instances of information associated with the specific customer submitting a right to delete request, to have the full scope and the full understanding of where it's located, and then as the next step to be able to erase it permanently and completely. And again, I cannot stress enough the importance of those two words, because these two words decide where you will comply with the regulation put forth by CCPA, right? The data needs to be gone permanently, so irreversibly and completely in its entirety without leaving any traces. So again, you need a tool that is qualified to perform this task. And as a final step, something that will answer the challenge of providing proof, you need to verify that the data is gone in its entirety, and to be able to generate a report that can then prove it for you, that can act as proof that you have indeed addressed this request in a timely and effective and secure manner, and the data is gone permanently and completely. Which brings us to BCWipe. Well, BCWipe appears to be just the tool to handle these types of challenges, right? The newest addition to BCWipe, the data discovery module, can now help to search and identify the data. The wiping module, the core of this tool, the tool that the government organizations have been around the globe have been using for years now, allows you to wipe the data permanently and completely. And you can also use the tool to generate an erasure report that can be used as proof to a customer itself or the third party that you performed the tasks in accordance with the regulations. For anyone who might not be familiar with BCWipe and with the concept of wiping at all, maybe I'll spend some time to talk about what wiping even is. Right? When we are talking about wiping, when we are talking about data erasure, it's sometimes easy to think that this is an advanced way to delete information, to remove information. Well, counterintuitively, it's actually a way to write more information to the drive. Right? And by writing more information to the drive, you ensure that the new data that you generate is placed over the pre-existing data, essentially removing any possibility that this data remains on the hard drive, right? Overwriting, wiping, and erasing it over and over. And the specific pattern that we use to overwrite the data that we want to be gone, and also the number of times that we write this pattern to the drive. This together forms what's known as a wiping scheme. So a wiping scheme is a kind of set of rules and set of information that we need to use to be able to achieve certain levels of compliance. And government and standard agencies, most notably NIST in the US, have put forward their recommendations on how many times and with which specific pattern data should be overwritten, right? So there are many standardized ways to overwrite data in accordance with the specific regulations or specific authorities in every country around the globe. So when raising data, you don't need to think twice. You just need to choose one of the standards that is readily available that complies with the specific regulation that you need to comply with, and you're good to go. So the core capabilities of BCWipe, they build upon this two notions: erasure of data, being able to overwrite data in place, and then support for wiping schemes, being able to do so in accordance with a given standard. So a very basic feature of BCWipe is to be able to overwrite existing files and folders beyond forensic recovery. It might sound simple, but actually it's a difficult task. While a lot of vendors in the erasure industry focus on full disk erasure, BCWipe is one of the rare tools that targets specific files and folders, being able to remove the unnecessary data with surgical precision, making sure that the rest of the OS and the rest of the necessary files remain intact. But not only that, it can also target data remnants, those traces of files or those bits of previously deleted information that I briefly mentioned in one of the previous slides, right? BCWipe can not only target specific files, it can also target the free sectors of the drive overriding any potential traces of information that was deleted before and is now invisible to the eyes of the file system or to the to the eyes of the user sitting in front of the computer. And building on these two core features, there are also features like cleaning browser history, cleaning user activities, and running scheduled tasks on a selected schedule, essentially allowing to automate certain tasks that need to be performed regularly. And this automation and usability, I put them in the separate categories here because it's hard to overstate the importance of those two features. While erasure itself is a complicated process, right? However, more and more we as businesses and as service providers, we need to comply with these regulations, but we need time to focus on our daily tasks. We don't have time to focus on studying the entire new realm of data erasure. That's why we put our tool forward with usability and automation in mind. We understand that our users just want to erase something quick to achieve compliance and move on. That's why we try to make this tool available not to just the experts around the globe, but also to the newcomers, that they can erase the data they need to get rid of in just a few clicks, and that they can automate future erasures by running recurring tasks and so on. And very recently, we have also supercharged BCWipe with the data discovery module. Before, BCWipe was just a tool that you can point to a given file or data remnants and say, I want this gone. Now BCWipe is a whole solution that can let you discover files. And this doesn't only cover the files that actually you know what you're looking for. This also covers the files that you might not necessarily be aware of, right? So it can find you anything that resembles, let's say, a credit card number on any of the computers connected to your enterprise network. So that way you can actually you can know where the sensitive information is located and stored within your enterprise network. And then you can decide what action should be applied to this information, whether it should be protected and encrypted, whether it should be isolated, whether it should be moved to another endpoint, or whether you need to erase it. Right. So to sum it up, I've spoken quite a bit already about this data discovery module, but just to sum it up, you can scan all the endpoints connected to your enterprise network. This is not limited by physical location. You can do so across multiple geographically separated offices. You can use simple search queries like finding files by keywords or finding specific information. However, you can also fine-tune your search by targeting some metadata, such as date of creation of the file and file type. But you can also find files that are just matching a specific pattern, like I mentioned already, something that matches a credit card number format or something that matches a social security number of your customer. Which brings us to the next segment of today's webinar, which is a live demo. What I will do during the demo is I will introduce you to the Jetico Central Manager console. This is a unified tool that gives you access to both the wiping component and the search component, the data discovery component of this whole tool. We will go through an example write to delete request. We will try to locate files associated with the customer requesting their information to be deleted across the enterprise network of this organization, this imaginary organization we've created specifically for this demo today. And we will then have a look on how these files can be deleted in just a few clicks and how to generate an erasure report verifying the fact of deletion. All right, so what you're looking at is Jetico Central Manager. This is a web-based central management tool. So you don't have to actually install any applications to run in your system. This is available in your browser across your network. So any endpoint, any device, even a mobile device that has a web browser can access this console. Access to this console, of course, is restricted. We have multiple roles that you can add, multiple user accounts. All of those accounts need to authenticate with their password and login before they can get access to the database and to the management controls. However, you can also rely on this least privilege principle and create roles that only have enough access for the tasks that they need to do. So you can distribute the level of access specific users have to the system, to the central management of wiping and data discovery policies here. So what you're looking at is in the center here is the view of your company. You can see some brief information about the license usage. And here's the core of this tool. This is the list of wiping policies. As I mentioned, there are a lot of data erasure standards, the wiping schemes around the world, and we try to make this tool available to be used starting from day one. So you don't actually have to configure any policies. You can rely on the built-in wiping policies that have been developed by our experts. And of course, there's also a possibility to create your own custom wiping policies that will answer your specific internal requirements. Here on the left, you can see the tree of computers and groups. For convenience, computers, individual endpoints that are linked to the database can be spread across multiple groups. You can group those computers by, let's say, a function, right? So you can say have a sales office and a marketing office. You can group them by physical location. Like in this example, I've put some computers in the headquarters group, and then I created a separate group for any computers that are which the users are working from home, right? So the remote located computers. And the convenience of grouping those endpoints into those groups is to be able to assign wiping policies to the entire group of computers in just one click. You will also see in the data discovery module that you can also limit the search to a specific group of computers instead of rolling your entire network if that's a requirement. Which brings us to the data discovery module within Jetico Central Manager. It is readily available here just by switching to the search tab. And there's a timeout associated with each session for specific security reasons. So I've been logged out, which is a good thing. So I'm just logging back again with my password and login, and I'm ready to switch to the data discovery part of the console. Again, you will see something that you recognize from before, the list of computers and group that you can select to launch your search on. You can name your search. For today's demo, let's name it CCPA write to delete. And you can customize your search by combining one or multiple filters. As an example for today's demo, we've prepared a sample write to delete request coming from the user with named Samantha. And Samantha here is submitting an official request to our organization, asking us to delete any details, any personal identifiable information that has been collected about her by her business. In order to act upon this request, something that I would suggest we do, we have received her full name and email address. However, she might be encoded in a specific way across different files in our organization. So the first thing to do might be to check her customer profile in our internal database. This might look something like this. And here we might find additional information that might be helpful throughout our search. For example, this unique customer ID number is for her is customer number 1000. So we could use this as a search term as well to be able to target those files that don't specifically mention her first name or last name, or don't specifically mention her email address. So the more information we have about her is actually better. We can fine tune our search, especially when working with larger organization, when looking for people whose last name might be too generic. We need more information to narrow down the search results, to be able to just find what we're looking for faster. So in this example, I will copy her last name and I will create a search for um, any personally identifiable information, and I will use a preset for this. What is a preset? A preset is a kind of smart collection of not necessarily specific filters, but like attributes, something that, specifically under personally identifiable information, it will look for strings of texts that are looking like passport numbers, driver license numbers, social security numbers, dates of birth, first and last names, and so on. So I will look for any personally identifiable information. I will add a filter for the keyword using her last name, and I will add a filter for keyword using her email address. Okay, let me just save some time to copy the customer code here. Copy email address. Yeah, that was easy all along. Keyword, and let's say this email address. You can further fine tune your search by limiting, let's say, search results by specific file type, right? If you know that your business is just working with PDF files when it comes to customer data, if you know that, for example, this customer has been acquired just very recently in the last year, you can also use the date filter to limit the search result by files that were only created after a given date, right? But for now, I think this set of parameters should bring us quite close to what we're looking for. And I will go ahead and start the search. All right. Once you start your search, you're immediately brought to the page of progress. And here you can see the list of computers that are being currently crawled. You can switch to the search result tab. This tab will be updated as the search propagates. So here on the first page, you can look after the progress of search in real time. You can wait until every computer reaches the progress of 100%, and then you can switch to the search result tab. But already now you can kind of preview the first results to see whether the search is actually looking for finding things that you were looking for. And if not, you can also click here, repeat search, add more filters or remove some filters. So kind of fine tune this whole process to achieve best results. And you can see that for each individual search result, you will also see the number of matches with the filters that you've selected, and you will also see the relevance. The relevance here is a specific score that is assigned to every file in the search result. So when looking for personally identifiable information, let's say if it finds a string that is resembling a social security number, if somewhere in this file also the word SSN, the social security number, or the word password is mentioned, then the relevance becomes higher. So the chances that this is indeed something that contains personally identifiable information are higher. So when you view your search results, you can actually filter them by the number of matches, the highest relevance, and so on. And looking at those results, the more more results appear here, as search progresses, you can preview also some of the content to see. So there she is, our Samantha, and we can see files that you can see some information here, some sort of overview profile for her. So indeed, the search is finding what we're looking for. And once we are ready with the search results, we can just go ahead. Any files that need to be deleted, you can revise the search results. You can select the files that need to be gone. And then it's as easy as just clicking wipe data on those search results. While this search is still in progress, I'll give it some time. I've prepared a similar search that ran before that has completed almost entirely. So I'll save time here, and I will just go ahead and demonstrate the erasure process on the few files here. And I will just go ahead and click wipe. Before you wipe, because this action is actually irreversible, you are asked one last final time to confirm that you indeed want to get rid of those files. You can select one of the wiping schemes provided with the software. These are the standards that I brought up before. And one thing that is very important here, you can actually enable verification. So this verification is an automated process that can provide a buffer that can actually make an extra step of going into the file sectors, going into the locations that used to store the sensitive data, and checking one more time that indeed the data is gone from there. Indeed, those locations now contain the pattern in accordance with the selected wiping scheme. Modern standards like NIST SP 888 calls for verification every time you override. So you actually, to stay compliant with those regulations, you need to verify the wiping results. And one option that also comes handy here is a backup option. So before actually erasing something, because it's irreversible, you can also create an encrypted backup of this file. And this is actually legal under CCPA to keep the backup of the files if it needed for later use, and to avoid removing it, even under the right to delete request. This is not a legal advice. Please don't treat it so. To achieve compliance, consult with the lawyer if you have any questions. However, just for the sake of this demonstration, this is one of the features that is available with the software that is sometimes used by our customers. And once we are ready with selecting the wiping scheme, I will just use here one that I know will provide some fast results. I'm ready to review the files that I'm about to erase, and I'm then clicking wipe selected files. I'm doing a small countdown here, 3, 2, 1. This is irreversible, and we go. And once this is done, we can also review the next stage. It's the wipe result section. And here in the wiping status column, as soon as this target computer comes online, as soon as the files start to be erased, we will be able to monitor the progress in real time, which is exactly happening while I'm talking. Right, so we can see now that indeed the 3 out of 3 files that we wanted to erase have been erased. The overall status of this search query together with this wipe query is completed without errors, so it's a success. And what we can do now is to address our final challenge, the challenge of compliance and proof that we talked about, is to generate a wiping report. Right, so for this, we could create, let's say, an Ortis RTD report. We will do a data erasure report. We will have a PDF version of that, and we will choose to include individual results from every computer just to have more information. And it's ready to download. Here's how it looks. Under NIST recommendations, every report will also have an individual unique identification number. You will see an overall information about the search query that has been used, what were the keywords, and what was the wiping scheme selected to erase the data. And later on, after the first page with the general overview information, you will be able to see in the report specific details about the endpoints that were targeted and the specific files that were erased as part of this erasure task. And you can use this file to present as proof of erasure for the customer requesting to exercise their right to delete, but also the competent authority that is checking upon you with regards to similar rights to delete requests. One extra step, if you want to receive the highest scores on your compliance metrics, what you can do is then you can just repeat the same search. What this will do is it will crawl your network one more time with the same filters, and it will make sure that ideal situation, there will be no further matches with the pre-existing filters found in your network. This will be a second proof to the checking authority or to the customer themselves that indeed the data is gone, not only irreversibly, but also in its entirety, right? So no traces, no similar signs of this data is then left in the entirety of your enterprise network. All right, I'm sure this has been a lot of information. This concludes my demo for today. We can close the search tab. We can go back to our management tab, and actually we can have a quick look at our dashboard. So the dashboard here is something that you will see on a day-to-day basis when you're working with this tool. So this has a brief overview of what wiping task has been launched in the past week, how the overall amount of data that has been erased within your organization, and so on. Also, any computers that require any immediate attention because there's been something in the way of executing a wiping task, potentially all these computers are available here in the attention required widget, and you can review any errors and potential problems that need to be addressed by just clicking on the widget, and the log file from the entire system will be filtered by only the events that require your immediate attention. All right, I'm ready to take a small break to maybe have a sip of water to review any questions that were submitted meanwhile. So I'll stop sharing my screen for now, and I will switch to my Q&A view. All right, let's go through some of the questions that were submitted. I will filter them by the most updated one. Let's have a look. First question. If I'm already using a search tool in my environment, what's the advantage of using the search tool included in BCWipe? Well, that's a good question. There's advantages to both using the tool that you're already using. I guess, you probably like the tool that you've been using for quite a while. You probably have some internal business processes associated with this tool. So if that's the case, you can continue to do so. BCWipe can also receive lists of files to be erased from any outside sources. So you can also use your own tool to to locate the files according to your search query, to generate and export the list of files, and then import this list to BCWipe, and BCWipe will do the job of erasing all files according to the given list. What you have to keep in mind, however, is when you're creating those lists, when you are exporting them, they also leave traces, right? So potentially it's a list that has references to all the files, the file names, containing information about a specific customer that you have. So potentially this list itself becomes a piece of sensitive information that you also need then a way to erase again. So in that sense, of course, BCWipe offers a more seamless operation, right? By finding the files and then immediately erasing them, you remove the need to export, import, and you remove the risk of like generating more information in the process. However, this is of course a possibility. The search tool is anyway included with BCWipe, so you can use it, of course, for your erasure tasks, but also outside of your erasure tasks. You can start using the search tool for any other use cases that you're using your existing search tool for. And of course, the data discovery module in BCWipe has also a couple of perks. We have just recently released a version that also can employ the power of artificial intelligence to identify and look for text within scanned documents or images and so on. So you might potentially find some benefits and some features of the BCWipe's data discovery tool compared to your in-house tool. So have a look. I mean, you are not definitely losing anything. This is something that will come with BCWipe in a package with BCWipe anyway. So give it a try if you find that it's stronger than your existing tool or just it's more simple to use. Give it a go. Another question here. In the demo, there was a warning icon next to one of the computers. What does that mean? Was the system offline? And if so, can the search tool still locate relevant data or perform scans when the computer is not connected or online? That's a very good question. Actually, the warning signs, let me bring back the console. Yeah, again, I'm guessing the question is about this warning signs here. This is actually a part of the monitoring system built in Jetico Central Manager. This helps system administrators have a better and more um, um, reactive approach to any problems that arise during the erasure, because some files that we need to target can be integrated deeply into the system. Sometimes some files can be locked while you're attempting to erase them, and some files cannot be erased at the moment. Most of those problems, quote unquote, BCWipe can resolve on its own. There are a series of automations that make sure that BCWipe will try to erase the file until it succeeds. However, there are some notifications or warnings, if you wish, reported for specific computers that help you kind of be aware of what's going on. An example of this warning could be this file is currently in use, all locked, and it will be erased on the next restart. However, most of those warnings are handled automatically by BCWipe and will most likely be resolved on its own after a certain time. And this is for administrators to just have a better grasp of what's going on. The second part of this question was about computers that are online and offline. This is actually depicted here on the left from any given computer name. So this little orb icon is can be green or gray, green standing for computers that are online. And an important thing to outline here is that online means available for receiving wiping tests, does not necessarily mean connected to the greater internet. Overall, all our tools are designed to work also in completely air-gapped environments because of the nature of customers that we typically work with. So here, if you see that computer is online, meaning that it's ready to operate right now. So for the search results, you've seen that when we launched our first search, then some of the search results were immediately available and some took a longer time to find out. This performance speed is due to the indexing. So actually BCWipe can locate files so fast because of the background indexing. So every file that appears in the system is getting kind of accounted for, and later on when you need to find a specific file, you can simply search the pre-existing index, so you don't need to start crawling your entire computer again. So this is the reason behind the quick performance in BCWipe. And actually, this partially answers the question about the offline computers. So for the computers that are offline and their index is available, then the files can be already located instantaneously. Other computers that are not accessible right now can be scheduled. So they are queued for coming back online and essentially executing the search result. And the same happened to any wiping tasks. If for any reason this computer is not connected right now to the central management console, it's not ready to receive commands, these tasks will be automatically scheduled for later on. First time this computer goes back online, this task is executed. And the benefit in BCWipe is also it does not require an active user to be logged in. So as a system administrator, you can enforce files to be deleted even without an active user session, meaning that it's enough that the computer is simply on, and then BCWipe can already operate. So you don't have to wait for your colleagues to come and log in to their PC to identify before wiping can start. The moment that this PC goes on, the wiping can be already performed in the background. I hope this answers the question. Anyway, as I mentioned before, I will be sharing my contact details, so please don't hesitate to reach out to me to ask me any follow-up questions if I did not fully cover or provide the information you've been looking for asking these questions. Simply let me know in the email and we'll continue the discussion from there. And we have time for one more question here. Is there a way to keep free space clean on an ongoing basis to make sure deleted data cannot be recovered later? Okay, that's a very good question. This is something that I wanted to talk about today, but we didn't have time. This was an intensive demo. Yes, absolutely. There is this whole realm in BCWipe that we didn't even really touch on. If I'll just go back to sharing my screen again. All right, so back to the central management console here. Right, this whole thing, we went we went straight to search, to data discovery, but you can actually see here, if you click on a given computer, you can see information about data and like clutter data also associated with the given PC. So for every given PC, you can see an outline of the drives connected to them, of specific logical volumes, of the amount of free space, and so on. So you can create recurring wiping tasks that are not necessarily associated with the specific search query, right? So one example that we covered today is that we receive a request essentially on the right to delete. Then we search for files that are associated with the customer requesting the deletion, and then we execute the wiping on those files. However, we mentioned that there also can be traces of previously deleted files in the free space. So for this, you can create a recurring wiping tasks. Like here, for example, this wipe free space task is scheduled to be executed every Friday at 7 p.m. At 5 p.m. So this represents potentially a use case where, it's Friday end of the day, everyone's leaving their computers before the weekend, and then an automated task starts to erase any traces of files that were deleted throughout this week, to clean any data remnants, and then you can start next Monday, you can come back to your PC and start your week fresh. Another good idea of a recurring wiping task is to wipe temporary files or to wipe files associated with the browsing activity online. So data associated, let's say, with saved passwords, saved forms, saved cached images. This all represents sensitive data that can potentially reveal some activities that you've been engaging in while browsing the internet, like your saved credit cards, your authentication credentials. It's a very good idea in terms of the broader scope of ongoing cyber hygiene within your organization, is to create a regular task to erase those. Again, once a week, let's say, on a Friday evening, or to wipe the free space, and then you're ready to start your next week, start your Monday from a clean slate, essentially, ready to go. Having removed any traces of sensitive data. All right. This was the last question that we had time for today. If there are any follow-up questions, hit me up. There will be a LinkedIn link to my profile. You can connect with me to ask me any questions in the chat. You can also, I will put up now a slide with the contact information for our sales team. So if you would like to have a trial version of this software, please send an email to sales@jetico.com and request a trial license. A trial license is a 21-day fully functional license that allows you to try Jetico Central Manager, BCWipe, and the data discovery module on up to 5 endpoints in your organization, so you can have a personal look and feel of how this software might work specifically for you and for your use case. And again, give us a phone call if you have any follow-up questions. I encourage you to connect with us and to bring this discussion offline. I am thanking everyone for joining in today. Thank you for your attention. But with that, I'm wishing everyone a great rest of the day. Thanks, everyone.